And then with cPTSD, what that is a blanket term for all of the things that have happened with either sexual abuse or narcissistic abuse that have happened over a long period of time. So it can be days, weeks, months, years, decades even.
So what are we talking about today?
Oh, goodness. RTT. I have just recently been a graduate of Marissa Pierre's RTT, and it is rapid transformational therapy, and it is exactly that. It is rapid, it is transformational, it's therapy. It's the kind of therapy that I had been looking for a really long time. I've always believed in therapy, but everything just seemed to be so dragged out, and like you just had to keep going back and going back and going back, and nothing ever seemed to be resolved. And then when I heard about RTT, I was like, wow, this sounds amazing. Maybe a little bit too good to be true. And then I started getting into the course, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. You can actually be healed of a self-limiting belief within 1 to 3 sessions, and then be out there living your best life. RTT is actually a blend of 5 different aspects. There is psychotherapy, CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy, NLP, so the neuro-linguistic programming, neuroscience for all those people out there that, oh, this sounds a little bit too woo-woo, and then hypnotherapy. So those 5 pieces, ingredients come together, and you do receive that transformation. And it has a 93% success rate. So in fewer sessions as other forms of therapy. So yeah, it's quite incredible.
Okay, so what happens? Who comes to you? We have a lot of problems out there, Dee.
We do.
And they're getting worse, right?
And actually, I can almost work with anyone, with almost anything as well. I've worked with people that have self-limiting beliefs in regards to how their culture has held them back in the past. And if you're suffering from anxiety or depression, or maybe you've got insomnia or weight issues that you're wanting to, like, oh, I've got this weight on me and I don't know where it's coming from, other than obviously eating. But I can work with you with your mind. Your subconscious mind actually runs the show. We always think that our brains run the show. It doesn't. It's our subconscious mind, and that is a mix of ideas and thoughts and beliefs that we have picked up all along our lives. And most often back when we were in like 5, 6, 7 years old age range.
See, that freaks me out, because I have a 7-year-old, just turned 7, and a 10-year-old. Turning 11 soon. Yep. And I'm like, oh God, I hope I'm not messing them up.
Yeah, I don't think you are, kid. Yeah. I have a feeling that you're probably allowing your children to explore who they are and express their emotions and be very connected to themselves. And that's probably the best thing that a parent could ever do, is just allow their child to be exactly who they are, and not tell them that they're wrong for feeling angry when they do, or when they're sad or whatever, and just allow them to express that.
How'd you get into this?
That's a good question. I have always had a desire or a strong passion regarding the masculine and the feminine energies and how they interact, and for a lot of us, how they don't interact with one another right now, and how it really seems like we're kind of combating one another. And I want to come to a place where we actually all come together in union and realize that the masculine energy has something to bring to the table, but then so does the feminine. We are each equally here to provide something in this world, and we have to come to that place where we can work together and just honor each other for what we do.
Yeah, because we're different.
We are.
But we live in a world where it seems like the word is we're the same.
Yep.
Right?
And the women are expected to be masculine, and men are expected to not have emotions, and emotions are what make us human beings. And that's a beautiful thing. Like, our Creator made us human for a reason. We're here to experience that humanity.
Yeah. So we are, I guess the problem is we're not celebrating our differences.
Yep, that is definitely
right?
part of it.
It's
Right.
like a sports team.
Right.
Someone's job is to be the 3-point shooter.
Yes.
Someone else is meant to be like the backboard person who grabs the rebounds, the rebounder, I guess it's called. I'm such a sports guy. I don't know why would I use a sports analogy for anything? I'm the worst.
No, that's okay. But kid, it's like you being here right now,
Right.
you are providing me an avenue to be able to talk about my business and what I do and give me a voice. And so I'm here to give you content and you're here providing this space for me. So
It's an exchange.
absolutely.
And so that's what the feminine and masculine energy, which we all contain,
Yes.
are meant to do.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So like the culture is telling us that doesn't exist.
Right.
It feels like in my perspective anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about do, and that everyone is just supposed to be doing that. They're only a valuable person if they do.
Yeah. What was the moment like in your life? Like, did you always grow up wanting to do this, or did you experience? I don't want to get too personal. I'm not sure how deep you want to go, but did you have an experience where you're like, you know what? They say the best comedians are funny because they grew up in a painful, home or something like that.
Right.
Something for you that was, I need to teach what I've learned.
Yeah. I came across the term narcissism and I did a deep dive into that and started understanding just exactly what so many people have experienced growing up, having narcissistic parents, and the effects that has on the psyche. And I had been looking for healing. I knew that I needed to heal. I knew that I wasn't the person that I needed to be in order for me to be living my best life. And then coming across the RTT, it was a blend for me of, oh my goodness, this is what you were meant to do, as well as, okay, this is the therapy that you have been looking for. And so I did a ton of healing over the months and almost year that I was involved in the course. And it was absolutely transformative. And now I want to be able to give that to other people and give them that freedom and that empowerment.
Yeah, I've heard people say, like when you're in your darkest times, not to get too down on yourself, because that experience is literally the blessing or the gift you're going to give to someone else at some point.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
What would you say a narcissist is?
Someone who comes from a feeling and understanding or thinking that they are entitled to everything, and they manipulate and control, and everything is for their best outcome. They don't care about what the other person wants, feels. There's a lot of projection that happens from a narcissist, and then you've got the opposite end where you've got the people pleasers, and they're just they're the balance to the narcissist, and they're serving that person and everything that they need, and it's a very unhealthy dynamic, because the empath never really actually steps up into themselves, and the narcissist is actually operating from an energy of having a lot of hurt in their past as well, but instead of taking a compassionate action for something, they're taking an idea of control and moving forward with that. And it's not a very nice place to be.
Can you be a narcissist and not know it?
Most narcissists don't actually know that they are, and most narcissists will not ever go to accept therapy. The only time that a narcissist will ever go to therapy is if they're experiencing a problem with somebody else, and they're like, I need you to help me with Janelle. She's really up in my grill and whatnot, and I need you to help me with this. Whereas a person who is wanting to heal, they're like, okay, I've got this issue with myself, and I want to heal this.
Everyone check yourself. Okay, we're opening up the cans now. Okay. All right, these are sodas, by the way, if you're just watching, if you're just listening, I mean. Okay. It's just good old buble. Okay? So you obviously had an experience that was, a learning experience.
Absolutely.
And you're like, yeah, okay, this is, now that I've learned from this, I want to share this with other people.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
And I know you talked about there's a difference between something called c-PTSD.
Yes.
and PTSD. So PTSD is a pretty common term.
Yes, absolutely. And I think people give a blanket term to a lot of stuff just by using the PTSD. And all that is...
Which is post-traumatic stress disorder?
Yes,
You got that?
absolutely. Yep, that is correct.
Off the top of my head, people.
Yep, you got it.
Wasn't even checking my notes.
Okay, so basically what happens with PTSD is you experience a one-time event that is really traumatic for you, and then a part of you actually gets stuck in that energy and is left behind in that. And you're obviously walking around in the world, and you're carrying this part of you around. And so what we would work to do is to release that part and then allow you to actually feel the feelings that you repressed and suppressed at that time. Because so many of us were like, okay, you know what? Oh my God, that just happened. And then we're like, oh no, I've got to be strong. And so I'm going to not cry. I'm not going to feel anger. I'm not going to feel the frustration or whatever it is. And we pack those away. And so what I would do is actually work with you to start to release those emotions. Now,
doesn't sound too fun.
No, it doesn't. But you've got to feel it to heal it,
Yeah.
and it isn't about going back and feeling the accident or the event that happened. It's about feeling the emotions that were attached to that were, pushed down, and that is where the healing is. So,
what type of trauma are people dealing with the most, do you think?
Trauma with that, it would be death of someone, especially if it's sudden death, and because if you've got someone who is terminally ill and or has a disease or whatever, you're like, okay, I'm already preparing my mind for this, and yes, it is catastrophic when that person does leave the physical, but
well, when it's yeah. I don't want to dig too deep, but I'm sensing you had something like that happen to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then with cPTSD, what that is a blanket term for all of the things that have happened with either sexual abuse or narcissistic abuse that have happened over a long period of time. So it can be days, weeks, months, years, decades even, and that would be covering anxiety, depression, any of the trauma responses like fight, flight, freeze, flop, fawn, and then any relationship attachment styles that are not secure. What we all want to be is secure, but there are people that are anxious, fearful avoidant, and dismissive avoidant, and those are something that we can actually free people from. And then I believe that a lot of times what can happen is that cPTSD can be the root cause for the weight issues, for insomnia, for or any eating disorder, and any other self-limiting belief, because you really do get into a feeling of low self-worth and self-hatred and looping thoughts. Sometimes suicide can be a part of it. So yeah, it's deep stuff.
Yeah. A lot of people I've talked to the last couple of years
Absolutely.
have tippy-toed a little bit into that.
Yes.
Different. I mean, you that's a lot you just mentioned there.
Yeah.
But I've learned about the default mode network, part of your brain that sort of provides that loop
Yep.
of that feedback of the negative self-talk that happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the neuroscience of RTT. We get in there, we extract those self-limiting beliefs, and then we reframe them. And then at the end of the session, I would actually leave you with an audio recording that we have prepared in advance. I would do an intake session with you, and that's usually anywhere from about 30 minutes to 90 minutes long. And I would get feedback from you regarding what you're actually wanting to experience on the other side. What does your life look like? How are you living? What are the smells? What are the things that you're seeing? Like, are you waking up and looking out onto the ocean, or like what is that perfect world for you? And so I would start to implant those those beliefs into your mind as if they are happening right now, and your mind will start to actually work with you to make that happen. And you cannot actually accept into your mind anything that does not that is not acceptable to you. I cannot tell you, okay, you're going to go and buy me a brand new Porsche, and then if your mind says, nope, not going to do that, that's something that wouldn't actually be able to get in.
You have to believe it.
You do.
What you're saying.
You absolutely,
Yeah.
and you have to want it as well.
Yeah. Human brain's almost like a computer.
Yeah.
Right? It really is.
It really is. Yeah. You hit that reset button.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was always a fan of the old school, like Bob Proctor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Think and Grow Rich, sort of like manifest guy.
Yeah.
And talking about like writing things down.
Yes.
As if they are happening
Already
now.
happening. Yep.
Yeah. And do that for, 30 days, 60 days in a row, and then see what happens.
Yes.
And it seems so nutty.
Yeah.
It's like a vision board.
Yeah.
It seems so crazy.
But it works.
But it does work.
It does. And especially if you are in hypnosis. And I actually, during the recording, I take you into hypnosis. And then that's where you're actually in a place of the least resistance possible while still being consciously aware. You don't actually lose control at all while under hypnosis. But it removes that resistance where your conscious mind isn't going, nope, you can't be accepting that because that isn't true. That isn't true. You're all of a sudden in this state where you're like, okay, you know what? Yes, I want this. I want to believe that. And I'm allowing this in.
Wow.
You're giving consent.
So is that a lot of it?
Yeah,
Is
that's
hypnosis?
a lot of it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. The RTT session itself, after the intake, we would set up an actual RTT session, and that is about a 2-hour long session. It is about 98% of it is actually under hypnosis. And that's where I would take you back to 3 scenes at least, where you would be able to connect with events, scenes, places, times, all to do with when, where, why, and how the issue of anxiety has come into your life. And your subconscious mind knows exactly where that all began, because when you were born, you were a perfect child. And you didn't have anxiety, and it's been the beliefs that have picked up along the way. And all of a sudden you're like, okay, oh my God, I've got anxiety. And that just keeps building on itself and whatnot. And so we would go in, figure out when, where, why that all happened. And when you actually start to understand, oh my goodness, that's what happened there. Wow. And you were 7 years old, you were 4 years old, you were watching mommy and daddy fight, and you couldn't do anything about it. And then all of a sudden you just started to, get this anxiety, and it controlled a large part of your life. And then we can just say, you know what? I am no longer that 4-year-old child. I now am an adult. I can make my own choices. I don't have to live with this anxiety. I'm a strong person. And then I would work through a whole bunch of different tools, take you through the process of letting go of all of that stuff. And then that's where that beautiful transformation recording comes in at the very end, where I would just implant all the beautiful, positive, new beliefs that are actually the truth about you, how lovable you are, how amazing you are, how connected you are. And maybe you have a problem with not being able to publicly speak, and all of a sudden you're being told on a daily basis, because I do ask that you listen to that recording once a day, every single day for 21 days, and then as many times as you want after that as well, because once you receive that recording, it is yours. And that just reinforces everything that we implanted during the session.
Wow. Okay, so you do the intake, you find out what's up with you.
Yep.
Go in hypnosis.
Yeah.
And then you take all that information you learn in the hypnosis episode or the session.
Yeah.
And you create this recording.
Yes.
And so there's stuff that happens during hypnosis, obviously. And then the recording is sort of like let's hammer it home.
Yes.
Type thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And and there's that 21 day thing they say that about habits, right? It takes 21 days to implement a new thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is it harder to heal something that, like a trauma that's happened to you as an adult, or as a child, or is there any difference to that? Because I think I'm trying to think of, I can't think of a lot of trauma from my childhood, although I know I did have certain beliefs.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in a very poor family. So I have some things around that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But as an adult, like, let's just say the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, a lot of little traumas that have happened with people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of crazy stuff, right?
Yes.
Is that harder to heal?
I don't know. Honestly, I do not know. It all depends on the person and how open they are, how willing they are to show up for themselves, and allow the good stuff in. Like, you heal so that you can allow the good stuff in. And I know it's taken me probably about 12 or 13 full RTT sessions to be able to start allowing the good stuff in. And I've noticed in my own life how so many things have changed. Like this time last year, I would not be able to be sitting here and be giving myself this voice that I am right now. And it's just because of the beliefs that I now have about myself, that I am enough, I am worthy of being here. And I think that's a prevalent belief that so many people carry with them, that they are not worthy. And so most likely, even though you say that you were grew up in a poor environment, there were most likely beliefs that you held that you were good enough, and that you had something inside of you that you knew that you needed to get out there, and that had value to other people, and you believed in yourself, because here you are today doing what you do, and I would say that you're quite successful. So yeah.
I know you also talk about like sexual. What's the term?
Sexual dysfunction,
Yes.
and that is actually where my heart is. I don't exactly understand where it all stemmed from, but back when I was around 6 years old, I don't want to use the word obsessed, but I guess that's about the best thing that I can say, is I became obsessed with human sexuality, and I just gobbled up books, as much information as I possibly could. I watched videos. I watched anytime that Dr. Sue Johansson I think that's
Yeah,
her
there was a
name.
couple of them, yeah.
Yeah,
There's Dr.
and-
Ruth and
yeah,
Dr. Sue.
Yeah.
Sue Johansson was the Canadian
Yes,
one, right? Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I just absolutely loved her, and I just gobbled all of that up, absorbed as much as I possibly could.
How old were you at that age? How old were you at that age?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
No, I was about 6 years old when that all started, and then it
Six?
just, yeah, and
Interesting.
and then it just stayed with me pretty much my whole life, and I was like, I don't understand why this was a part of me, but now that I found the RTT and realized that, you know what, the sexual dysfunction is such a huge thing. And that is encompassing erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, and inability to orgasm. And as soon as I kind of started putting feelers out there to other people and letting them know that this was my niche, this is where my heart is, people were like, okay. I had a number of women come to me with the inability to orgasm, and I was like, wow. I was just so incredulated. I'm not sure if that's a word, but yeah.
First time hearing it. I'm going to look it up after this recording.
Incredulated by this inability to orgasm. But I think that what happens with women is we are not able to express our anger, and I think anger and sexual pleasure really, because it's that like that release and suppressing ourselves and repressing ourselves and not being allowed to be that angry little girl. And that's what I was saying to you earlier with your children. Please just continue to allow them to let their feelings flow through them and acknowledge them and whatnot. So but with the with erectile dysfunction, that there are beliefs that men have held, and it stems back to different things that they were told when they were growing up. One of my clients, and I've asked his permission if I can share this, and he said absolutely yes. He was exploring himself when he was a little boy, and he got to that point where everything started to feel really good, and then all of a sudden a thought came into his mind of, oh, when you're doing that, you shouldn't be doing that, because it's going to harm you for later on in your life, and this is going to have a really bad impact on you. And so he stopped, and he said it was just so painful, and so he took this belief of that it was bad and it was wrong. And so, of course, the erectile dysfunction took over, and so he was flaccid. But then as I was listening to him while he was in this scene, I'm like, oh my goodness, he also has this belief that orgasm equals pain, because he stopped himself just as he was about to orgasm and he felt that pain. So the brain's main function in our lives is to take us from pain to pleasure. And so it would stop him from actually orgasming before he even got to that point. It would make him go flaccid, and it would be stopping him from actually having that orgasm. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so immense. So all of a sudden I'm flipping that switch for him, and I'm saying, that's not me. I am not that 4-year-old little boy needing to stop myself. I am in control of my bodily functions. I do not need to listen to this person any longer. I am the one who tells me what I am allowed to do and not allowed to do. And all of a sudden he's feeling empowered, and he's able to orgasm. So
wow.
Yeah.
Sidetrack a little bit here.
Yep.
When I was doing a morning show on a radio station, one of my producer actually at the time, she got an email from, she was selling a pair of shoes online.
Okay.
And someone responded to her and said, why are you laughing?
I'm just thinking foot fetish.
You already know. I'm like, have you had this experience already? Like, how many pairs of shoes have you sold? And this guy responded and said, I would love to buy the shoes for, $50, $100, whatever they were. However, I want you to wear them first and kick me in the crotch.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, of course, I'm thinking, ratings, this is going to be wild. So we set up like GoPro hidden cameras. This guy was the real deal. We hid in cars. They met in an underground parking garage. Her name was Susie. And from that day forward, the nickname on the radio show was Susie the Ballbuster.
Oh my God.
Because she stood there, put the shoes on, and kicked him repeatedly in the crotch. And he thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay.
Like, loved it.
Yep.
And, obviously it was great for a laugh for the show, and it was a whole thing. I've looked for that footage several times. I can't, somewhere lost on a hard drive somewhere. It would be a great throwback flashback on Instagram, but I can't find it. Maybe that's for the better. I don't know. But and then once we went on air with it, we had other women calling up and saying, "Yeah, I think I've encountered the same guy.
Wow.
Like, he goes online and looks for women who are selling shoes, and this is his proposal." And later in life, I've thought about that a few times, because it was such an epic.
Yes.
It was one of the moments I think of my career that was so
Wow.
weird. So weird. I go, wow. So connecting it to what you're doing, that's obviously got to be something he experienced perhaps as a child.
Yes.
Right? Where the pain is connected to pleasure.
Right.
Right? Tying back into what you're talking about.
Yeah.
What would be your take on that? I know I'm throwing this at you out of the blue. But.
No, that's fine. That's fine. And it would actually be, he would actually need to want to be in a place that he wants healing from that. So because he's enjoying it and he is consenting to it, there wouldn't be anything for me to heal for him unless he said to me, okay, you know what? I've got this deep, dark demon inside of me and I want to get rid of it. Then that I would work with. But if he's deriving pleasure from this and he's happy and he's consenting, there's really nothing for me to do.
Yeah, I guess you're not down to change anyone from
right. No, and I don't
who
want
they're
to
happy being.
Yeah.
What do you think of caused that? Any guesses?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, you know what? I would love to sit and talk to him just to find out what happened in his life, find out about his childhood, or what event happened for him to want to have that happen to him. So I could do that either consciously or while under hypnosis, but that would be fascinating.
Well, invite me to hide behind the couch and listen if that ever happens. Yeah, it's like something with women's shoes.
Yeah.
And the pain of being, it's not like he's grabbing a hammer and hitting himself. There's something with women's shoes.
Right.
So there's something there.
Yeah.
Anyways, again, it's just the human mind is a wild thing.
Yeah, it might. He might have been kicked by someone that he was either infatuated with or by his mother, and it was the only time he ever received love, and so he equates the love with being kicked, and that attention. So many times we believe that attention equals love, and that's not true at all. But our minds do crazy things.
They certainly do.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like that. With your women clients
Yes.
that are having a problem reaching orgasm.
Yeah.
As a guy, I do know that there's the distraction of the to-do list that's on the mind. You know, this is as far as I go.
Yeah.
You know, okay, that the room's a mess. The vacuuming needs to be done. You know, that's why sometimes hotel sex can be better.
Yes.
Nothing to worry about.
Yes.
It's just you're not even at your house. It's good. In your experience with clients, what is a big barrier?
Cultural. I've had a lot of people coming to me from different cultures, and because of the belief system to do with religion, culture, intertwinable or interchangeable, and just that idea that a woman is not supposed to be sexual until she's married, and then all of a sudden on that day that she's married, everything is okay, and you're expected to produce children and to have sex, and all of a sudden it's this whole mindset switch, and they're like, I've never been taught anything, I don't know anything, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and because no one talks about it. But then also that's where I was talking about earlier, the repression of our feelings and being told that we have to be doers and pleasers and whatnot. So receiving pleasure is not something that women are allowing themselves to do. And that giving themselves over or surrendering to the process and just saying, I am openly and willingly receiving right at the moment. So that's a really big mindset switch that needs to happen.
Do you think that ties in with how culture is these days? The weirdness going on with the masculine, feminine energy.
Yeah,
you know?
and I really do believe that it is to do with the women believing that they have to be the givers, the thinkers, the deciders, the doers, and not ever allowing themselves to put themselves into that place of being able to receive. And to be able to orgasm, you do have to receive, and you just have to let go. And one of the things that Marissa Peer actually talks about is how women will go and they'll wash their face at the end of the day, and they're putting on this cream and that cream and doing this procedure and all of this stuff, and they're like, I don't have time for sex. And she says, you know what, it really only takes about 5 minutes, but you're spending about 45 minutes putting all these creams and everything on your face, and the best thing for you is orgasm, because it releases all these beautiful hormones within your system that keeps your skin tight, that keeps it glowing and beautiful. And that's really all you have to do, is just allow that orgasm to happen.
For your skincare routine.
Yes.
We need to talk more about that. Instagram is bombarded with, here, everyone's asking me, what's my skincare routine? It's like, oh, hey, well, which you could tell is part of it, but not the full thing. So what do you love most about this? I mean, people come to you with, and what a vulnerable thing to decide that, okay, I'm going to actually approach someone and talk to someone who starts out as a stranger.
Yeah.
You know, and I worked with a life coach years ago, and it was a very vulnerable moment where I first sent the email and said, okay, I'm feeling like I need some help. And you get on the phone for like the pre-call, and you know, you're talking to them, and you know, that's a big deal to trust someone that you maybe haven't met before.
Absolutely. When you come to see me and we get into that conversation, I see you as already being healed. So I don't see you as actually having the problem that you're coming to me with. So if you're feeling shame or embarrassment regarding erectile dysfunction or inability to orgasm or anxiety or weight problems, whatever it is that you're bringing forward to me, I don't see you as actually having this. I see you as that fully healed person.
What's it like working with guys?
It's a lot easier than what I expected, actually. I actually asked one of my clients and said, why did you choose to work with me? And he said, basically, you're willing to talk about it. You're willing to listen to me, and you hold no judgment. And that's actually something that I have heard time and again is, Dee, you've just, you have no judgment for anyone. And I feel so safe. I feel so, it's so easy for me to be vulnerable with you, and you make me feel good about myself, and very little judgment. So, yeah.
And you're doing the tarot card reading.
I do.
You're okay talking about this?
Absolutely. If you're okay, I'm okay.
Okay. So this is still the one thing in my world that still seems crazy.
Yeah.
Which is a weird thing for me to think, because I really believe some crazy stuff.
Yes.
Like I really do.
Yes.
Like I'm all out there.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I just haven't gone down the tarot card reading hole.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
reading hole?
Yeah, sure.
Wormhole, whatever. Oh, there's so many holes to jump down. Rabbit hole. That's right. I forgot what animal I was talking about. Yes, the rabbit hole of the tarot card. I don't understand how they work. What the pictures mean. Can you explain that? Can you please?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been dying to talk to someone about this.
Oh my goodness.
Please.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm so excited then.
Okay, good.
And I know, and this is where the woo-woo comes in. And actually, for people who maybe are not able to afford the RTT, it's not cheap, but are still wanting some kind of healing, some kind of direction, that's where the tarot cards would fit in. And I have a range from $11.11 all the way up to, I believe, $175. So depending on where your pricing is for that. But every card has an energy attached to it. And each of the tarot cards has a meaning. And so there's a traditional tarot meaning, and I spent probably about a year just really diving in and learning about each of the individual cards. There's 78 cards in a traditional tarot deck.
So any deck you get, I know this is a super dumb question.
No.
Any deck you get is pretty much the same?
Almost. Like the pictures differ because people have taken creative license and they've called each of the cards different names. For instance, what can I say? A page of swords can also be called the knave of swords, or so they come up with their own little wordings and whatnot.
But it's based off a traditional.
Okay, absolutely,
deck.
yeah.
Okay. I didn't even know that. That's how new I am to this stuff.
That's okay. That's all right. So yeah, and I personally do not do reversal readings. Like sometimes the cards can come out and they'll flip around and they'll be upside down. I believe that there is enough information being given to you at any time when you're pulling the cards that you can receive the answer that you're looking for. Wild things have happened when I've done tarot readings where I've done a bunch of readings for my social media on YouTube and Instagram, Facebook, and then I left one particular deck out. I had a client the very next day, and I was like, I don't know why I left that deck out. Like, it just seems so weird. And so I gathered up the different decks that I was going to work with her with, and then at the end of the reading, she had one more question. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm feeling really drawn to this deck right now. And so I took it out, I shuffled the cards and whatnot, and then one fell out, and I held it up, and she's like, oh my God, my grandmother's here with us right now. You're showing me this picture of whatever it was. I can't even remember, but it was the feeling after when she's sitting there telling me, oh my God, my grandmother is here right now. She's passed like a number of years ago, but she's just here to tell me such and such a thing. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. And that's why that card deck was left off to the side and I didn't put it away that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So why would you have different decks?
There are different pictures on the different decks, and so maybe the Queen of Pentacles on one is with the traditional depiction of what she is, and so she has a pentacle and she's a queen and whatever. But on another deck, someone's taken creative license and they've created something with an animal on it instead, and so you've got an animal, let's say a wolf, and she's sitting there and she's got this crown on her head and she's doing such and such a thing. And so all of a sudden, the person that I'm reading for is connecting with this, and they're like, oh my gosh, wow, this is actually telling me that I need to reconnect with this person that I went on this vacation with 10 years ago, and we haven't spoken since, and now I'm supposed to reach out to this person and reconnect with them. And maybe that card didn't actually have the meaning, the traditional meaning for the question that they had, but it triggered that response in that person, and connection happened. And that's really what the tarot is all about. It's about that connection.
So that wouldn't have happened if you hadn't had that particular deck pulled out.
Correct.
So then how do you know which deck to pull out?
I don't.
How many decks do you own? Like, let's say,
oh goodness,
10 different ones?
I'd say well over 100, and it would, yeah.
100?
Well, not all tarot decks. I've got Oracle and tarot decks. So
someone shows up for a reading,
mm-hmm.
and you just How do you know which deck to pick?
I just let go and let source say guide me. And there's times where it's very specific. Like if I go to a person's home to do a reading, I've got this great big Hulken bag and I put whatever decks, but there are specific ones that that I am guided to, that I absolutely have to put in there. And it's this feeling like if you don't put that in there, then the person that you're reading for is not going to receive the message that they are meant to and need to hear. Wow. So yeah, and so I always use those particular decks that are being like directed to me. So
what is the process? What's happening when someone is like what happens in a session? Someone asks you a question. Is it something that you are channeling or?
Yeah, and that's okay. There is a.
I don't even know what to ask.
That's okay. That's all right. That's actually where the third card in the deck is the High Priestess, and she is really that connection between the physical world and the ethereal world. And that's what a tarot reader or a psychic person is. They are in connection with the ethereal, and they are that vessel for the message to come through. And like I said earlier, the cards each have an energy attached to it. And so the person that's showing up, they have all of their energy, their beliefs, and inside of them. And so when they ask a question, it honestly is usually just a confirmation of what they've already got going on in their mind. And like I did a reading for myself last night right before I went to sleep, and I just said, okay, Spirit, what is your message for me? And one of the cards, the very first card that came out was the Fool card, and that is the 0 card of the tarot deck. It's the very first one in the Major Arcana, and the Fool card is all about a brand new journey and just kind of letting go and saying, okay, you know what? I'm here. I don't know what's happening next, but I give everything over to you, and whatever happens, happens. And I'll be the physical if you can be that ethereal energy in my life, and let's go.
Wow. Who are some of your biggest inspirations when it came to spiritual teachings? And
yeah, I would have to say Teal Swan is absolutely huge in my life. I've received so much healing because of her.
She's coming to town soon.
She is.
Yeah, in August. I think.
August. Yeah. Looking forward to that. And then Abraham Hicks. I have listened.
That's what I was gonna say. Is one of mine. Sorry to cut you off. Yeah,
no, that's okay. Yeah, no, Abraham Hicks, and just and as I've gone through my spiritual awakening, things that she has said have started to make sense, and put yourself into receiving mode, and then get better at putting yourself into receiving mode. And that's exactly what I'm doing here right now. I'm getting really good at putting myself in receiving mode. So yeah.
What's the key to that?
Believing that you are worthy, and that's where that healing comes in. You need to do the healing in order for you to be able to get into that energy, into that place where you are able to start letting the good stuff in.
Mm-hmm. But what would you say is the biggest thing to believing you're worthy? When you are such a screw up, let's say you've labeled yourself that.
Yeah.
How do you make that shift? I've messed up a lot.
Yeah, we all have.
Or I've missed opportunities, beat myself up over, or whatever it is. Yeah. Or, just parenting. Parenting, you have that mom or dad guilt every week. Yeah. There's I should have signed them up for piano lessons 5 years ago when they showed interest and I didn't. And now, it's all this stuff we'll make up in our minds that can drive us crazy.
Yeah.
How do you wipe the slate clean?
Right. Okay. And I'm just going to talk from my own experience. It was when I first started showing up for the healing sessions that I was receiving because of the education that I was receiving with Marissa Peer, as I did each little thing and dealt with one of the things was fear of bees. And I really had this belief that I had this fear of bees, but it wasn't that at all. And I ended up having a huge amount of healing regarding that.
Bees. Bees are the best.
I know they are amazing.
No, wasps. Screw the wasps. Screw the wasps. But the bees are like
Yeah.
they're like the lovers of nature.
They are.
So you had a thing, you were terrified of bees.
I was terrified of bees, and what it ended up being was nothing to do with that at all, because your mind actually cannot hold two beliefs at the same time, because I knew how imperative bees are to our existence, and then I was like, I also have this fear, and I'm like, okay, this doesn't make sense. So what it ended up being is that I was repressing myself. I was keeping my voice really small. And what does a bee have? It has a very small voice. There are more people out there advocating for bees right now, so their voice is getting stronger. But I was this attraction point for these bees to always constantly be around me. Ever since I had that session, I believe in this summertime, I've had maybe 2 bees come near me, and they weren't even interested in like landing on me or being a nuisance or anything. They just kind of flew on by. And so, yeah, it's that point of attraction. But going back to that feeling of worthy, as I've gone along and healed these different things, I've healed my fawn response. I've healed something called echoism. I've healed my fearful, avoidant relationship attachment style. And each of these things was one session. And yeah, that I like when I say that the RTT is incredible, it really truly is. Like if you show up for yourself, that healing is going to happen. So as I went along and healed all of these different things, I started to believe that I was actually worthy and that I am enough, just exactly who I am right in this moment. And it doesn't matter whether my hair is a mess and I just got out of bed and maybe I'm smelly or whatever. I'm still enough in that moment. It's just like a diamond that maybe it has dirt all over it and it's been crushed and whatnot. It still has value. It is still a diamond. All it needs to do is be buffed off, and it'll be sparkling again.
Here's to buffing off.
You got
Here's
it.
to buffing off, baby. What's the echo thing you mentioned? What was that?
Echoism.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Okay.
I've never heard that term before.
I know. It was something that came into my existence because after I had healed the fawn response, I was like, okay, there's still something hanging on and I don't quite understand what it is. All of a sudden, I came across this term of echoism, and it is actually the exact opposite of narcissism. So in the story of Narcissi and Echo falls in love with Narcissi, and of course Narcissi is deeply in love with himself, and he's the guy that actually fell into the pool of water and ended up dying because he was so enamored with his reflection. And but Echo was doomed to repeat only the last words that she had just said, and I just had tingles going through my body. So and she just basically serves, and what happens with an echo? Well, it becomes smaller and smaller and smaller until it actually just disappears, right?
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, I am becoming this, and that's not where I want to be. I want to give myself this voice. I want to stand up for myself and not be that person that demands a certain outcome and tries to manipulate. A person who is in that healthy state of narcissism, which is the middle point of echoism and narcissism, is someone who says, you know what, I'm enough in this moment, and I'm now just also going to let go of the outcome. And just putting that desire, that want, that need out there and saying, you know what, I don't need this person in order to have that fulfilled. It's going to be fulfilled some other way. I know that the universe is going to bring in exactly what I need, and I am going to be okay. I don't need to control anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow. And some of this stuff are healed in a session, you said.
Yep.
Yeah.
One session.
Wow.
One session. And that's where I keep saying you show up for yourself and you're a 10 out of 10 in your commitment to your healing and to yourself. Like, this is all dependent on you. Like, I'm just there to really be your guide to facilitate the healing for you and guide you through. But it's all about you and listening to the recording at least once a day. I know at times I was actually listening to my recordings 3 times in a day just to really get it inside of me. And I was making my own recordings for myself and telling myself that in my own voice, I am worthy, I am beautiful, I am, enough for everything.
Yeah.
So
I've thought of doing that before.
yeah,
I've thought of
do it.
recording like my own podcast just for myself.
Yep.
That in the morning, because we all find like motivational stuff, on
Yep.
YouTube or whatever. Like
Yep.
there's a great one that Joe Rogan does where he talks about like, you are the star of your own movie.
You
And
are.
just imagine that like you're the character that's down and out and they've got to climb out of this pit and
And it is the mindset.
yeah, on the
Yeah.
days where you're not feeling it.
Yeah.
So what was that like when you would record your own voice to listen back as yourself? 'Cause I haven't done it yet, but I could, I'm glad someone else had the same idea. And I'm not so crazy.
Yeah. No.
But
No.
what's that like to hear your own voice telling you, all right, you got this, baby, come on. What's that like?
It's actually quite amazing, and it's something that Marissa tells each of her students to do for themselves,
Wow.
because the most important words that you ever take in are the ones that you say to yourself, and that's where those self-limiting beliefs are just looping around in your head. And as soon as you start flipping that and saying and giving yourself maybe the stuff that you never had as a child, maybe you needed to be told that you are very intelligent, or you're pretty, or you're so handsome, or you're the best soccer player ever, or whatever. Go ahead and tell yourself those things and start to believe them, because once you start believing those things about yourself, you're going to start taking different action. Your thoughts control your emotions control your actions, and your actions control the outcomes. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's huge.
And that must crush negative self-talk
Absolutely.
because
Yeah.
your self-talk is in your voice.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're listening back to something in your voice as positive,
Yeah.
it must just do a little switcheroo.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Amazing.
I love it.
And all your stuff's on Zoom, right?
Everything happens on
Yeah.
Zoom. Yeah. So again, going back to the sexual dysfunction, if you are feeling uncomfortable, you and I are not going to be in the same room together. So it takes away that level of discomfort, and where I do need to see you, like you do need to show up on camera, because I need to see your reactions and responses and what's happening. I know there's been a lot of emotional release that happens during a session, and I just need to be there to be able to say, okay, you know what, go ahead and cry. Or one of the things that I love is fuck you therapy. And that is where we do something called dialogue with the hurter, and especially with somebody that has experienced sexual abuse or narcissistic abuse, and they all of a sudden, I give them a voice, and I say, okay, you say whatever you need to say to that person. Maybe it's the mother, maybe it's the father, maybe it was a sibling or a teacher or someone, whoever it was that took advantage and really did that repressing and suppressing. All of a sudden you're there and you're like, fucking hate you. I want you to die. Like, I don't care what you say. If you can get it out of you, that's where that healing happens. And it is imperative for you to be able to do that. And the release that I have seen people have because of that, and the word release in and of itself, all of a sudden women are able to then orgasm afterwards, right? Because they've had that release.
Some kind of magic.
It is magic.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When you don't know, it's some kind of magic.
Yeah.
Wow, fascinating. Thank you for sharing with us today.
Absolutely.
And so how do people get in touch with you? And I know you mentioned something about, like, in our emails back and forth, you don't want, price to be a barrier for someone who can't, who really needs healing but can't. Can you expand on that?
Absolutely. Okay. For the men, I do, because of the masculine and feminine energy, two very different ways of approaching life and whatnot. For the men, I don't want to put a price onto your healing. What I want you to do is make me an offer as to what your penis working, what value do you place on that? How much money do you want to give me in order for that to happen? There is an amount that I won't go under for sure,
Okay.
but I know that there's a gentleman who is currently charging $3,000 for a session to actually receive the healing, and he has a lineup of people that are willing to pay that. So I don't think that there's any price that is too much to place that value onto that healing. For the people that would be coming to me for c-PTSD, PTSD, or anything else, like, it doesn't have to be specifically that. Like, if you want help with publicly speaking, then I can work with you. I am here to offer you a discount of, let me know Kid Carson sent me,
Okay.
and I'll be happy to give you either 150 off my bronze package or 75 off the RTT package. So
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Limited time only.
Yes.
And we don't know what year you're listening to this in, okay? Who knows? Just like,
We'll see what happens.
Kid Carson sent me way back in 2024. Like, what? This has been great.